Okay, I'm Dan Zakreski here in Saskatoon, and I'm joined by Police Chief Cameron McBride, and we're going to be talking about the year that was. You were appointed chief back in May. What do you know now that you didn't know then?
I know about the volume of work. I know about the importance of relationships that I've built over the period of my career. It's interesting how necessary solid relationships are, and how having that network of people around you that support you is so important. And I've just seen so much value in that. As I've tried to meet the challenges of this job, can't do it alone, and I need those people around me.
Can you give me an example of how that would come into play?
Yeah, for sure. So we end up, dealing with circumstances where the community might be concerned about something, and having connections in the community to fully understand the scope of the concern, why perhaps people aren't feeling safe, or, what's happened in a certain situation. And so being able to have those connections in the community that you trust, to be able to say, hey, from your perspective, what are you hearing? What do you know? And do you have any guidance for me? I have an elders advisory circle that built into me and that helped me understand community. Same with an Indigenous women's advisory circle. Same thing. They build into me, but they're my connection to community. And those things are so important.
One of the things that sort of plays on that a little bit that always struck me with the American political system, and I'd heard that when a president leaves office, they will leave a letter in the desk for their successor with kind of these are maybe some key things that you might need to know. What would you put on the letter that you would leave in your desk?
Absolutely, I would say support and appreciate your staff. I've been absolutely amazed at how my co-workers have come around me, how they've given me information that I've needed, how they've injected a historical context, or even just through a really difficult decision, been there to support me, to encourage me. And so look after your staff. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I would want to make sure that my successor does.
Did that surprise you at all? You've been with the service for quite some time.
I've been here since 1997. Yeah, I'm almost finished 28 years. I think when I look back to the beginning of my career, I was enamored with the work. I was, I was just so proud of what I was doing, learning as I went, and really believing I was making a difference. And I didn't think about some of the things that I think about today. I didn't think about the value of relationship. I didn't think about even the value of engaging with your community. If I was driving by a school when I was a young police officer, I might not have thought, you should stop in there and say hello, introduce yourself, get to know what's happening. Whereas today I see tremendous value in that, in just community building and being approachable, letting them see the human side of policing. I really value that now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was like the old beat officers.
Absolutely.
See past the uniform.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of changes happening in the world, and including in policing. How do you want to see the Saskatoon Police Service evolve in the coming years, say under your administration?
I think the evolution of policing right now is understanding how to work collectively to make a difference when it comes to complex issues. We speak about individuals in the community with complex needs. We speak about social disorder and how much of social disorder is actually a police issue and how much is better handled or dealt with by other more and better equipped people or better equipped organizations. And so what's the police involvement, what's the police role, and how do we work collectively to really make a difference when it comes to some of the really complex problems we have, in our neighborhoods. We've been talking in Saskatoon quite a bit about a whole of city approach, and really at the core, it's that community safety and well-being, kind of a all coming together, all hands on deck approach to working through some of the very difficult things that we are facing. And so that's what I see in policing moving forward. Yes, we have an increase in violence, and yes, we have increases in weapons, and certainly that's part of what we do. And at the core, that's probably what we do best, is dealing with those really critical moments, those really difficult, dangerous circumstances. But what's driving our work is the more complex issues. That's what's driving call volumes to be higher than ever before.
So as this evolves, do you have in your own mind a line as to sort of where policing stops? Like, we just can't do that other stuff. This is as far as we can go. And if so, what is it?
Yeah, the line is, I guess, is something we're constantly trying to find and to define. Some of the ways that we've been approaching mental health calls, for example, incorporating the PACT unit and that kind of a team philosophy, that's so important to help us understand in real time, where does policing start and where does policing end within that circumstance. And I know for those who do that work in that team environment, they talk about entering into a circumstance, and it in many cases it starts as a purely police circumstance where the level of danger or concern requires a police response, but then they have the ability to transition as they de-escalate, as they kind of figure out what's happening and get to know the individual they're working with a little bit better, having the ability to transition to more of a social and a support system methodology. And so I think that's part of it, is just being willing to learn from one another, being open to change, not being stuck in the we've always done it that way mentality, but to really be examining what's happening in the world, what's happening in other police organizations, who's having success, and then modeling after those things.
The province recently announced it's going to introduce the Safe Public Spaces Act, the street weapons, cracking down on large knives, bear spray in public. From the perspective of your desk, is this something Saskatoon should opt into?
Bear spray is a big topic of conversation right now, not only in Saskatoon, but provincially, and Alberta and Manitoba as well. And within the context of bear spray, how do we control it at the point of sale? How do we control it as it travels from one hand to another? How does it get into the hands of a person who's going to use it for a criminal purpose? And then, is the penalty appropriate? Is the penalty a deterrent or something that will change behavior? Those are things that are so important to understand. And so as we're looking at the new legislation and how it might implement change and how effective it might be, that's part of what I'm looking for as the chief, is is it going to effectively make a difference? And if not, if there's something lacking, how do we as a municipality look at perhaps a bylaw that might supplement or augment what the province has already done? And I know sometimes it takes a kind of a cooperative legislative approach to have the best outcome. And so it's so new, we're still trying to wrap our minds around, what are the implications, how is it going to work, and what's the municipality's obligation within that. So I guess time is going to tell.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're on the fence on it at this point.
I wouldn't say I'm on the fence. I'm saying it's too new that I don't really, I can't really say whether or not I think it's going to be successful. I do know that from my perspective, any legislative amendment that works to have an impact on those three things: point of sale, control around point of sale, control around how do we track it and who has it, and the penalty. Those are the things that I'm interested in. And so if there's positive change as a result of legislation, I'm all for it.
So if those are achievable goals, you would suggest opting in?
Absolutely.
Okay, but you want to get those answered first.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
Final question has to do with encampments. And I'm curious about what's been the police's process when it comes to encampments, because in some respects you have a broad role, but you also have a fairly narrow role. If somebody takes them down, it's the police are involved. Where do you see the service fitting into this?
Yeah, you know, we've managed to really, I think, again, when I talk about a whole of city approach, or when I think about who's best suited to do certain types of work, this is an area that's really come to demonstrate the value of knowing who does the best work in which circumstance. And so the Saskatoon Fire Department has taken a lead when we talk about encampments within the realm of safe housing. And it's been a really good thing, because the fire department comes at the encampment circumstance with a safe housing focus. You know, what's best for the individual? Is an encampment going to place that person in more danger than they would be if they were able to find adequate shelter somewhere else? And so the fire department takes that lead. They make the determinations around what's safe and what's not, what's complying with city bylaws and what's not. And then if they make the determination that it's in the best interest of the individual or the community or the circumstance to remove that encampment, to tear it down, we of course would be in a supporting role to make sure that you know, it's done in a way that's safe, in a way that doesn't result in somebody getting injured or placing somebody in danger. And that's the magic of cooperation and putting the right people in the right place doing the right work.
Is it fair to say then that to a large extent the police are following the lead of fire on this?
Absolutely.
They're the first point of contact.
Yeah, that's right.
The police have any solutions on that front? This is sort of an awful question, but when it comes to just addressing homelessness in the city, where do you see the police fitting into this?
We have the opportunity to speak to so many people, and we know in the city of Saskatoon we have people who are living rough because that's what they choose to do. We have people who are homeless because their life circumstances led them into that, just through a series of unfortunate events. We see individuals who are suffering from addictions or from, you know, a reduced mental capacity, such that they don't have the ability to make those decisions for themselves, and they're just kind of getting by. They're surviving. And so I think the police role is to come alongside those individuals. Certainly our alternative response officer mandate is to have an outreach focus to find out who that person is, what's brought them to that you know, state or that position in their life, and find out how we might support them into getting adequate shelter or connected to services. And that's so important. We know that individuals who are unhoused are often also victimized. And so helping them get out of that circumstance into a better situation is what I see our role being. And I think it's a very difficult role. It's a very important role, but a very difficult role. that historically, I would say police have, you know, not done as well as they do today. We get lots of training in trauma-informed policing, in bias-free policing, cultural training to understand, you know, some of our community residents, you know, how is it that they're in this circumstance? What trauma might they have experienced in their life? And that really helps us come alongside in a supportive way to try and promote the best outcome we can.
It sounds like, I mean, when you look at what's going out on the street, there's some nuance. And I think that and again, I'm sort of trying to paraphrase back what you'd said, but it sounds like there's an element of triaging here. I mean, there's going to be some people who just want to be out. There's going to be some people who are not mentally capable to help themselves in those circumstances, and others who legitimately need help. Not legitimately, but who need help, and the police could serve a role. And sort of making those distinctions must be a tremendous challenge.
It is a tremendous challenge. Fortunately for us, we have, you know, we've been building the best relationships we can with some of the service providers out there. Some of our community-based organizations are very knowledgeable and skilled when it comes to working with individuals in crisis. Knowing who our outreach workers are, who have the capacity to meet us on the street in the middle of the night and get somebody to safety. You know, those are things that I think many years ago we didn't think about. We were fairly narrow focused in our approach to working with people. And fortunately, we have grown as a profession. We understand the value of incorporating our partners and other organizations into what we do. And yeah, I believe it's paying dividends for sure.
One of the things that struck me with the most recent encampment experience with Mr. Fine Day was when they sort of broke the log jam. One of the suggestions was using teepees as perhaps a more practical and culturally appropriate way to help people. What do you think of that as a proposal?
You know, thinking out of the box is so important. Coming at it with an enforcement mindset is not, in many ways, the best mindset to have. You know, I think about over the years, the uniform that I wear has de-escalated and resolved many issues immediately just because I showed up. But the uniform also, in some cases, can cause an additional trauma to somebody who's, you know, already had bad experiences, who already has a preconceived understanding of what they can expect when a police officer shows up. And so in the case of, you know, an encampment or a circumstance where there's high emotion involved, I think approaching it with a very different approach, out of the box thinking is important. You know, for those who saw some of the meetings that occurred, you will have noticed there was no police uniform at the table. It was one of our members who understood the importance of you know, demonstrating that community mindedness, that respect and understanding for the circumstance that was there. And those are some of the things that we never would have done. But if it is the right thing to do, we'll do it.
So, you for teepees?
You know, I would say it comes back to, is it within what the municipal bylaws might permit? Is it in a place where it's safe? Is you know, the circumstance safe? Have we mitigated any risk to people? Those are all very significant concerns for me. And I guess it's just looking at things on a case-by-case basis. It's really hard for me to say wholesale it's the right thing to do, but it could be.
You're not dismissing it out of hand.
No.
That's always good.
The only thing I would add, Dan, I can remember saying to you one time that every time you and I seem to get together, I learn something. And I've appreciated that.
Oh,
And I mean it. I mean it. I've appreciated that. You look at things from a different perspective than I do. And I've learned over my years that watching for those things and being willing and open to learn is very important. And so, yeah, thank you for those moments where you've taught me something.